when I was a ALC instructor, that was, the wars were going on. They were full steam. So we had this big backlog in Europe of NCOs that needed to go through ALC, and they just didn't have the ability with the up tempo to get them back to Fort Leonard Wood to go through the school. So the regiment made a decision to do a one-time remote or on-site course in Germany. So myself and Graber and I don't know if you know Bobby Oakes at all. He was a drill sergeant. He was military police. I think he was a sergeant first class when I was a staff sergeant, so he had been in a little bit longer than I had been. But the three of us, and then our first sergeant, of course, chief at the time was Rusty Lane. We went over to Germany, to the Grafenwehr, Vilseck area, to set up and get ready for the first ALC course out there. I think we got out there probably 2-3 weeks in advance. And it was a good thing that we did, because the support that we were supposed to receive, since we weren't part of USER, did not happen the way that it was planned. So I know me and Graber had to just in process into USER like we had been just PCS there. We had to go through range safety courses. We had to go through everything like we were being stationed at Germany so we could operate the class. But it was interesting because we were over there in the fall time frame, and Thanksgiving came up, and one of our former instructors that we had in ALC for the CID course, he was now stationed over there. And we've been hanging out with him and his wife a few times, and they invited us over for dinner. And I still have a recipe saved, because they slap your mama banana pudding had there at that Thanksgiving dinner. It was phenomenal, and I made them give me the recipe. But we were there. We were drinking beer, wine all day long, having great food, conversation. If you remember back to, I can't even remember what the system was. I don't know if it was Nintendo 64 or what it was, but you had that Bond game was like,
oh yeah,
the big thing before Halo and all these other things. So we're just over there playing this James Bond 007 game. And then they decided it was time for us to leave. We had crashed their house long enough. So we went over to a bar just outside of the base there in Grafenwil-Sec. And it was a cool little bar. And we stayed there. We closed that place down. But the barmaid, Rusty Lane, had been talking to several folks there at the bar, and he had struck up a conversation with the barmaid. And when we got back out to the car, he said, "Hey man, we're going to Romania tonight." I'm like, we're all like, yeah, okay. Well, Rusty had been going back and forth because he didn't stay in Germany the whole time. He had courses going on at Leonard Wood, so he was going back and forth. So he wasn't staying at the same hotel. So he actually dropped us off. He's like, "Hey, I'll be back in like 10, 15 minutes. Go pack your bags. We're going to go to Romania," because we had a 4-day weekend. And we're like, yeah, sounds good. Not believing it's going to. We walked into the hotel. It was off base. Hotels in Europe are different than they are in the U.S. This was not part of a chain. It was just, all the lights were off. We walked in the front lobby, and I noticed a soldier sitting in the corner at a table. And he had an unopened bottle of Patron. And he was like, "Hey man, can you help me drink this bottle of Patron?" And I was like, shit. Walked around the front counter, walked into the kitchen, grabbed 3 glasses, brought it back out, opened up the Patron. We split it across 3 glasses, and went back up to my room. We're just kind of hanging out, getting things set up to call it a night. And here comes Rusty Lane down the hallway saying, "Hey, get MapQuest pulled up. We're going to Romania." And Rob and Bobby Oakes were like, "No, we're going to go. It's too late." And I was like, man, this guy's going with us or without us. Like, somebody is going to have to go with him because he's going. So I decided to take one for the team, and I was going to go with them to Romania. Packed a bag. I pulled up MapQuest on how to get to Romania. We didn't have GPS in cars at the time. Rusty Lane's looking at my computer monitor, just kind of looking at the directions, and he looks at it once, and he's like, "All right, I'm good." Didn't write anything down. We get in the car, and we start taking off for Romania. And we're probably 15, 20 minutes into the drive, and I'm like, "Hey, man, you got to pull over. I'm going to have to throw up. It's been a long night." And he's like, "All right, hold on one second." We're flying down the auto. I can't wait any longer. I just opened up the door as he's driving, and I throw up out the door. Close the door, continue on driving. we actually get into Austria, and it's kind of dawn at that point. And Rusty's like, "Hey, I'm going to pull over here in this restaurant for a little bit, and take a nap. I need to take a." I'm like, "Yeah, we probably need to take a nap." So we took a nap there for a couple hours, got back up, got back on the road, and we're going. And I'm getting kind of nervous at this point. Like, we've already crossed into Austria. I don't have a passport. At that point, I didn't have a passport. The only way I had to get in and out of different countries was with a leave form and my military ID. Well, I didn't have a leave form to go with my ID, so I had no way of entering the country or justifying why I was entering the country if we did get stopped. So we're cruising, and we end up in Budapest, Hungary. And I'm like, Rusty, this is far enough, man. Like, we've only got a 4-day weekend, and we're like a day and a half into it already. Like, this is far enough. So he agreed. We found a hotel. At this point was really the first time I got out of the car. And when I opened up the car, I realized when I had thrown up, it was just all in the door jamb of this rental car. Not good. We get checked into the hotel. We each get a room, get cleaned up. We go into town, find a place to eat lunch, walk around a little bit, come back, and we're going to take a nap before we go out that evening. Well, I can't remember what's going on, but I'm watching the news or whatever's on TV, and there's some sort of terrorist attack going on. I can't remember where it was taking place. And I'm like, shit, nobody even knows where we're at. When we left, there was two people thought we were leaving and going to Romania. And now we're in Budapest, Hungary. I don't have a passport, so I'm like, I got to call somebody. So I called my dad up, and I'm like, hey, just in case anything happens, I'm currently in Budapest, Hungary. We just got here today. We're going to leave tomorrow and head back to Germany. But just in case something does happen, somebody knows where I was at some point to begin the search. And I think about that now and how crazy that conversation must have been on the other side. Because if my son called me now and just told me that he was in a random country, I'd be like, what the hell is going on? Like, you need to stop what you're doing. You're not making good decisions, and go back where you came from. So we rested up and went back out. We got into a cab to go into the town. We asked the cab driver, like, where's a good place to go? We're just looking to have some drinks. And he was like, there's only two kinds of places here, which was a lot. But he said, we got these little casinos, and then there's this strip club. And we're like, well, probably have cheaper drinks at a strip club. Let's go to the strip club, and we'll just hang out there for a little bit and have some cheaper drinks. This was a bad idea. Immediately walking into this place, there was probably human trafficking violations that were occurring at this establishment. And I'm convinced the guy that was running it was in the Russian mob. But we sat down, we were ordering a couple of drinks. They kept coming around and asking us if we wanted to buy drinks for the girls. We weren't interested, but they kept coming around asking. And so finally we're like, look, it's probably going to be maybe double, triple of a regular drink. So yeah, fine. If that's going to end this back and forth, yes, we'll buy them a drink. This dude comes out. He's got this platter with these 2 uncorked bottles of wine. And I knew immediately we were screwed. And he gets to the table and he's like, hey, this is a special green apple wine, blah, blah, blah. It was 500 euros a bottle. And they were already on. Now, at the time, I was not in a position, I'm probably still not in a position to be buying $500 bottles of wine, but I sure as hell wasn't at that point in my life. And so I was pissed off, and Rusty was like, hey, don't worry about it. I got it covered, which was, made me feel a little bit better, but I was still pretty pissed off. But this place didn't take debit card, credit card, nothing. It was a cash only establishment. So we obviously didn't have 1,000 euros on us. So this Russian mob guy escorted Rusty Lane to ATM to withdraw cash. And he's gone for a hot minute, long enough that I've seen, I'm thinking back to, what are those movies? Those Saw movies. I'm thinking of those different Saw movies and things like that. I'm like, this dude is probably in a bathtub, full of ice, with a cell phone taped to his hand, with his kidneys cut out, told to call 911 when he wakes up. He ends up coming back, but he's like, hey, it wouldn't let me take out 1,000 euros. It only let me take 500. So I had to be escorted to the ATM. Now I don't recall seeing it. I don't recall seeing anything on the ATM that said that it was a 500 euro limit. But I took out 500 euro and then just at the time explained to my wife at the time that I didn't understand the conversion rate of currency and just accidentally took too much money out of the ATM. But we paid our bill, and they were like, "Hey, you guys drink for free. Drinks are on the house the rest of the night." And we're like, "Yeah, no shit. We just spent $1,000 on green apple wine."
Yeah.
So we started ordering some double Jacks and Cokes because we wanted to get our money's worth. But after a few, they cut us off. They said we were done, so we left. And we did actually find an actual bar club area that we could have gone to the first time and not been taken advantage of. We hung out there for a little bit, then we went back to our hotel. And then the next day we got up and we ended up in Bratislava, Slovakia, and hung out there for the day. So it was kind of interesting, but just had no intentions of leaving Germany when we went to Thanksgiving dinner. And by the next day, I think I'd been through 4 or 5 countries.